This video will demonstrate how to enter a typical exam room, then create the Division 6 submittal using the common legend callout method. One important aspect of doing this in CabinetVision 11 using the commercial database is that the legend table that the section callouts refer to is 100% automatically filled out by the cabinet itself. We will assume you have filled out your company information at the splash screen. That is done at the preferences in your splash screen. Here you'll fill out your company name, address, so forth, with the information you want. Where we have the comment field, I have initials here that I use for drawn by on my computer. If you have a network system, this has to be filled out for each individual on the network because this does not transfer from one computer to the other, your preferences. If you're missing information at the beginning of a job, you can always go back and update the default construction methods and materials, even names, addresses, and architect, GC, and job information. Any update you make will not affect any cabinet or part overrides that you may have created while editing special cabinets in the job. It is always preferable to have all the job information when you begin, but as most of your submittal will be using job, room, and part parameters or text fields that auto text, it is not as much work to update at a later date. For this demonstration, I will start the job not knowing the PLAM colors, then create the first submittal. Afterwards, we will change the materials so the job will be ready to cut at the machines. Then you will see how fast a few minor updates to your plan and elevations will have your updated submittal ready to resubmit. When starting a job, you will choose your default go-to configuration file. This file is a placeholder containing the standard way you build cabinets. I will pick number 3 for this exercise. Next, I want to fill out my job information. Here I'm going to give the job a number. I'm going to give the job a name. Then I'm going to go to the Ship To tab and put in the site delivery address where this job will be installed, as well as contact and phone information. Then for my general contractor information, I'm going to go to my Customer tab and enter in my contractor's name, address, his contact information and phone number. And then on the Customer Comment tab here, I'm going to enter in the architect's information, and I can do multiple lines here, so I'll put the architect's name, address, and phone number and fax number and any other information I want on 3 or 4 lines of text. Now that I have the job information filled out in all the tabs, I can go ahead and proceed and start with the drawing process. Now that the preparation's all done, we'll start entering in our walls and our cabinets. For this exercise, we're doing a small exam room, so I'll put in a 36-inch return wall and a 120-inch back wall. Hit return. I will center the room. This will allow it to spin on its axis easier for viewing. And now I will start placing cabinets along the back wall. So I'm going to go to the elevation view personally. This is my preference. However, you can also add in the cabinets at the plan view. Let's put a drawer stack in next to the filler. And now I'm going to edit the section information on here. So I will hit the CAD button. Now I can start editing all of the CAD. You'll notice there's CAD in here that's blue, and there's CAD in here that's black. The black is automatically generated. The blue is CAD that I'm responsible for making sure is correct. So I don't need any file hanging rails in this case, and I didn't put any locks on the drawers in this case. So we'll get rid of those callouts. Now I do notice that these dimensions aren't lined up. So I'm going to go ahead and line up the blue dimensions to make sure that they are accurately displaying the cabinet's information. Once I've reviewed it and I make sure all of the callouts are correct, I'll hit return, slide the section bar over, right click in the screen off of the cabinet, and then hit to drawing. This will send that image to the drawing page so that I may use it. Now I'm going to state that the finished end is on the right hand side because I'm going to add an ADA cabinet in here. And now you can see that I've placed a note inside of this section view to turn off the dimension layer for this particular cabinet when sending it out to paper, because I've put the dimensioning information in blue. So I'm going to follow the note and go to right click off the screen, go to Properties, Layer, and Dimensions, and I'm just going to turn those off for 1 minute. Now I'm going to double check that everything lines up the way it needs to. Slide the section bar over and send it to drawing. Now remember to turn the dimensions back on once you're done. And again, this will have a finished right end. Now I'm going to put a bracket for part of a suspended countertop over here. So I think in this case I'll use a EH1818 flush mount, and we'll just have one, and from the left we will put that at say 24 inches. When I've got that right, I'll double click it and I'll look to make sure. I'll hit CAD button so that I can move my arrow over to point to my bracket. When this all looks good, I'll hit return, and in this case you don't really need to slide the section bar over because there's no internal parts. Send to drawing. Now we'll start putting our upper cabinets in. I'll make this cabinet the same width as the cabinet below. Now I'll double click the cabinet. Section editor, I want this to be a single door. If the hinges were on the wrong side, you can just tap the pull itself and it will switch which side of the cabinet gets hinged. And I can look and make sure all my shelf supports are there and my drilling is there. Everything looks good. So now I'll go to the right end view for my section information. Again, this particular cabinet I've chosen not to put locks in, so I'll just move the lock hardware note. I didn't put light rails on this, and there's no elbow catch. So now that I'm certain this rest of this is the way I want it, I'll go ahead and put in the distance to the countertop, which is 20 inches in this case. And you'll find out why this is important later. You'll need this little mark to line up the cabinetry. Now let's put a standard upper 30 inch above the ADA sink base, and let's make that 18 inches tall. Double click it so I can get into editing. I'll go to the interior of the cabinet so I can change the number of shelves that are in here. And again, I'm going to get rid of the lock information and the light rail information, even though I'm probably not going to use this particular section. I'm just going to use the one that's to the left of it and use the similar note. And last but not least, a cabinet over the bracket area. And since I'm not using the notes on these two, I'm just going to use the notes on this one. We're all good. I don't need to edit the section information here. Alright, now let's just make sure. So we have our 3-drawer base end, which that one was from before. Alright, so we have our 3-drawer base end, our ADA sink base, our counter bracket support. So we need our upper cabinet. And we're going to use this one here. And the reason we're going to use this one is because it has an unfinished end and a finished end. And I want both of those items to fill out on the legend table when I'm done. So I'm going to slide this section bar over just a little bit so that it'll still be on the right side of the handle. And I'm going to send to drawing. Let's put the countertops in. And you want to make sure you're clicked on the correct side of the wall so that this little red dotted line is on the correct face. Auto build, current wall face, okay. Now if I click on the top, I can see that along the back wall here it's red, which is splash. On the left end it's yellow, which is unfinished. I need to edit that. I also have a finished end and a profile face. I want all of these to be finished for the type of edge that I'm using. I'm using a laminate self edge, and in order to have that show up correctly, this needs to be a finished edge, not a profile edge. And I'm also going to put a radius on this corner. So we're going to click on the top, right click, edit shape. First thing I'm going to do is put my radius on there, so I want to fill it. 3 inches is good, so I'm going to click over here on the paper and then on these two edges. Now I'm going to go to select. I'm going to pick the unfinished end and pick splash. I'm going to pick this front edge, and it will represent everything because it's connected by this curve, and we want that to be a finished edge. So red, red, and blue. Save the shape, yes. Now if I look at this in 3D, it has applied the laminate to the edge as well as the splash to both of the other edges. And you can see that my bracket is correctly placed in the wall. So now we'll generate our plan view and our elevation view. Now all of this dimensioning for everything that you've seen is being controlled by this particular layer set. Now we're going to go to the drawing page and start organizing our submittal. First thing we need to do is select the paper size and the template that will be used on each page. So we right-clicked on the paper space and went to properties. You want to make sure that you have drag scene from snap point and all scene points selected. You want to make sure you pick the right paper size then scale is not important because you can change that as you go. It's just a default scale that things will get dropped in at. So we'll go ahead and leave it at 3/4 right now for elevations and plan views. And title block, you need to pick a title block that will be the one you use for each page. Now for this first page, I want the cover sheet. But I don't want to set that as the system defaults because that would end up showing up on every single page. And what we want is a drawing page for each page and a cover sheet just for the first page. So I'm going to set as system defaults for this one, and then I'm going to go back to cover page and hit OK. Now, so in this instance, I already had a second page in here, so I need to pick my title block for this one, which is going to be my drawing page. Alright, so let's go back to the cover page and verify that all the information is correct. So the auto text filled in my company information here. The auto text filled out the job information and location here. It filled out the architect's information here from customer comment, and it filled out the general contractor's information here for customer information. So we'll start with our plan view, and we'll drag that from the left side over just onto the paper. And then we'll grab our elevation view, and we'll start there. So here's my left wall, and you can see I have dimensions over on the left, so I might want to move that as far left as I care to place it so that now I can line the two views together, and now I can slide these up by grabbing the point and moving it a little closer, I think, to the paper. Alright, so that's probably lined up good enough. So now I want to start placing my annotations in. So at the plan view, I'm going to left click on the drawing, going to left click on CAD, insert, symbol, and now I have a group of symbols called Legend Submittal Symbols group. So I need a plan view in 3/4 scale, and that is this one right here. So I will drop that over. Now I have some information questions that pop up automatically so that you won't forget. So here you can enter in the architect's reference for this plan view. Let's say it's view 1 on A1.01. And this is the first view on the sheet, so we'll call it 1. And I'm going to drop that little title block right in there. Now I also need a north arrow pointing up towards that elevation as my marker for the elevation. So this will be elevation 2, and it's going to be on sheet 2, because sheet 1 is the cover page. And now I'll zoom in just to make sure everything's correct. Now you notice I don't have any room notes filled out right now, and I didn't even put the exam room name here, but that's alright because all of this is auto text. Now I need to put my elevation annotations in. Left click on the drawing, or the scene. This is called a scene in CabinetVision. So left click on the scene, left click on CAD, insert symbol, go to the same grouping, and now I need the elevation group for 3/4 inch scale. So it's asking me for the architect's reference for this elevation. So let's say that would be 12A 5.01, and this is scene 2 on the page. And I'm going to drop this over to the corner over here so it's out of the way for a second. I have some handy notes in here to just make sure you're always scaling your text to the right size if you need to put in notes or you need to change the scale for some reason. So these are just handy to keep all the text looking the same size on the page. Once you don't need them, you just get rid of them. So here's my title bar. So the first thing I have to do is hit select. Then I have to grab this grouping of symbols, right click, and ungroup. Now it will allow me to grab these individual areas. And I can now put notes. So if I have gyp walls, I have a sink that's going to be over here. I don't know what my PLAM colors are yet, so we're going to go ahead and just put a couple of notes over here for a second. And I need a filler note there. The filler note there. You can use your space bar so that you don't have to zoom in and out. Don't have anything I'm aligning here. I could put my PLAM note in. I don't need that one. I don't have a soffit in this case, and I'm not putting grommets in. And I'm all done. I don't need to worry about, well, actually we'll leave those notes, that note there for right this second, just so that you have it handy in case you need to make some more notes later. So you notice that we're in 3/4 scale. So for 3/4 scale, my text should be 2.5 inches high, and if I click on one of these notes, you can see that the text is 2.5 inches high. So that's my standard text. Some of my more bold annotations, I might use a little larger text. And because I didn't put a room name in there yet, this is just saying it's still room 1 because it is going and looking at that information, and I don't have any notes yet. So let's go ahead and go back out to the room for a second and go ahead and decide to put some notes and information in. So this room we're going to call Exam Room 101. And for this exam room, we're going to annotate that we don't have any PLAM colors selected. Now we've entered in our notes and our information, and let's go back to our drawings. You'll notice now that the drawings have all been updated with the notes. Now we need to tidy up our elevation. We'll left click on the scene, CAD, and drive in close. And use Control C and Control V for my copy and paste command. These little lines have been added by me just to help locate where I might want to put my markers. Alright, that gives us our 3 base cabinets and our upper cabinet. Now we need to determine where they're going to be located. So I believe we can fit all of this on this same page. So everything will be on sheet 2, and now we just need to decide the location of these. So now I'm going to ungroup, and we're going to have this one be section A, and it's going to be on sheet 2. We'll have the ADA sink base be B on sheet 2. And the bracket will be C on sheet 2. Now I can start bringing in the other cabinetry. So our 3-drawer base and then our upper cabinet. So here's our 3-drawer base. Let's drag this in. And actually, before we start dragging these in, we'll drag this one in and change the scale here to 1.5 inches. And then if we click on the page and go back to properties, we can change the scale to 1.5 inches now. And now as you drag in all of your other scenes, they will come in with the information. Alright, so let's start with our base cabinet and get that organized first so that we can place it in this corner. First thing we're going to do is left click on it, CAD, and we already checked our notes, but on my dimensions I like to tidy these up just a little bit. It's not necessary, but it's up to personal preference what you would like to do. For speed, you could just use the automatically generated location for these and be done with it. So now that I've got that correct, I want to drop in my auto text table. So you'll notice instead of putting the table up here on the sidebar where it wouldn't reference the actual information within the cabinet as far as the materials being used and construction methods, etc., we're going to go ahead and put the tables next to each cabinet and within the scene itself. So we're going to insert symbol, and now we're going to go over here, and this is a drawer bank. So I'm going to look for the section that has just drawers on it. So this is a base cabinet with drawers, and the reason for that is it eliminates the door information out of the table. The default one for every cabinet could just be the drawer and door one, and then it would just not fill out the information for the things that are not there. But then the table's large and it has a lot of blank spaces in it. So I just pick the one for drawers and drag it over here. That's going to ask me for the architect's reference for this. So let's just say this is 12 on a 8.01, and this is going to be detail A, we said, and it's on sheet 2. Now it doesn't matter where you drop this because it comes in as a block and you'll be able to grab the whole thing. Whether or not you use a vinyl base, this is just a grab point so that you can place your table nice and tidy in the same place on all your drawings. You can then ungroup this and change this note to read anything that you want for your room's base schedule. So again, all of this information is filled out, all your notes have filled out, and most importantly, all of your information regarding the cabinet is filled out. So now let's just go ahead and move this over here. Alright, and I'm going to get this out of the way for right now so that we can go in and put in the next cabinet. Oh yes, now we need a countertop for this. And so now the next grouping down is our countertop, and there's a PLAM countertop with auto text. So I'm going to grab that. And this countertop also is auto text, so it is actually going in and looking at the materials we've selected to build this countertop from. And that's important because this countertop is at 34 inches, and now we can use this little tick mark on this upper cabinet to align this correctly, and we'll set it right on top of that laminate there. And now this is in the right space. I'm going to hit save real quick, and then I'm going to go back and put in my table for my upper cabinet. And so again, going to come in here and go and find the upper cabinet table and drag that into the room. And in this case, we'll be referring to the same architect's reference here. And it's the same reference as the base, and it is sheet 2. And you can choose an alignment point that you think works for you. And now you have the correct information for your, and again, all of this is automatically filled out. So because we said that we were going to use a color to be determined schedule because we don't know the colors, that's what we have. So on our finished ends, we have advisive vertical grain, PLAM, exterior white interior. And the same thing with the edge banding is color to be determined. Now this is important because all of these notes and all of these tables are going to update automatically when we find out what those colors are. Alright, so this particular scene here just needs a call out to reference that it is detail B because the bracket itself is already auto texting through here. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in. Go to scene, insert symbol, and then the top one is just the title bar. And the architect's reference, perhaps this one is 13A 8.01. And this is detail B on sheet 2. Now in this instance, I may not need any of these room notes, so I could go ahead and choose to ungroup this and get rid of those notes and just use this section annotation there. If I wanted to put another countertop on this one, I could as well. We need our table for this section as well. So we'll go ahead and left click the scene, left click CAD, insert symbol. And in this case we don't have any locks or drawers, so pretty much this one would possibly represent one that's just doors. So we're just going to use the table that's base cabinet doors. And let's say this one is 14A 8.01, and this is detail B on sheet 2. Now in this case we don't have a vinyl base, so we're going to go ahead and just manually move this information to where it looks tidy, and then we'll ungroup it and get rid of the vinyl base note. And it appears that, oh, yep, this was detail C, not B, so I'm going to go through and go over here and change that. Sorry about that. So now we have everything tucked away on the page, nice and neat, but everything is color to be determined right now. So we're going to go ahead and get this submittal ready to send out. So we checked with the cover page. We now know that the drawing page looks good. All of the information for the job is in here correctly. So we can go ahead and send this to paper. Now there's a variety of ways of generating a PDF. There's a variety of ways of generating a PDF in the format that you need. In this instance, on this computer I have the Qt PDF writer. I can check the preferences, advanced, and I'm going to check my post screen or postscript. I'm going to enter in my size, hit OK, apply, and print. And here is my 24 by 36 PDF. For the next step, we will change the PLAM colors and notes to show you how the drawings will automatically update, and there will be very little work needed to prepare the drawing for resubmittal. So first we're going to change the notes to reflect what the architect has told us. In this case, we'll say that all the interiors will be melamine, all the base cabinets will be PL1, and that will be a Formica color. All the upper cabinets will be PL2, and that will be a Wilson art color. And all the countertops will be PL3, and that can be, I don't know, a tree frog color. And then we will show how that updates in the drawings. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up as I type these things in. Now for this room, I need to actually change the colors so that they will be ready to cut at the machines. So I will go to my cabinet tab, my materials, and now I will change the material colors to reflect the changes I just made in the notes. So my upper cabinets need to be PL2 with 018 edge banding. Now I select for my standard cabinets PL2 exteriors, melamine interiors. For any exposed interior cabinets, I would have PL2 exteriors and PL2 interiors. And I verify my edge banding thickness. That it's 0.018. And it is. So my base cabinets are PL1 with melamine interiors. And PL1 with PL1 interiors for finished interiors. And verify the edge banding. And verify the edge banding. And it is correct. Now these are the casework materials. Now I need to adjust the door materials as well. So now instead of our PLAM advised color, we need to pick our primary color, and usually that would be done here, and then the only one that would be different would be the upper cabinets. So we would change that here. So because most of the cabinetry will be the PL1 color, we'll pick that here. And in the doors, you have to pick the edge banding at the time because you can't change the material schedule within the job. So here we'll pick PL1 grained material face, white back with 018 edge banding. And now for our upper cabinets, because that's the only one we want to change, I can either click on this upper door, or I can open the menu here and click on it here and change just the uppers to reflect PL2. PL2 grain, face, white back, 018. And now we've successfully changed all the material colors so that they will cut correctly at the machine. Now this is the most important thing to do when you are laying out a job. Now if you look at this room in 3D, you'll see that PL1, 2, and I have 3 and 4 are all color coordinated so that you can verify that your edge banding and your casework, everything matches. Now we can go to the drawings and you'll see that in our plan view the notes have now been changed to reflect the colors. In our elevation view, the notes have been changed to reflect the colors. The one place you will need to make a change is in the elevation. So you'll click on the scene, left click, and now where we have PL with question marks, we need to ungroup this, and for our base cabinets, make this PL 1. And for our upper cabinets, PL 2. I'm going to go ahead and add an extra line here. Now that was the only change I needed to make to this drawing, and it's now completely updated. All of your cabinet sections have been changed to reflect the correct material. So now this drawing is ready for resubmittal. So all you have to do is print as before. The last part of this training session will be to send all of the cabinet parts out to the machines to be cut. You'll simply go back into the room to the plan view, left click the Screen to Machine Center button. If you want to cut all of the parts, you don't need to filter anything. And you can just hit Optimize, and the system will grab all the parts that you need to cut. If you wished to filter by room or by cabinet, you could do so using the filter button and just choose which cabinets you wanted to cut, which materials, which parts of those cabinets, etc. Again, if you choose not to pick anything, it'll just automatically select everything. For this example, we'll select the whole job. You'll have a run number here, and you just left click run. And the beauty of the system is when CabinetVision integrates your machines with screen to machine to your CabinetVision solid software, you really have very little effort on your part you need to do. You're going to see here that we are almost done with generating the entire cut file for this job. I can go and check each sheet. If I wish to, I can move parts around to make better use of a sheet that I might want to use this space for something else. On certain parts which are non-grained, like the white melamine here, you can click on a part and you can rotate, you can flip the sheet, you can flip parts over. You have just really all kinds of control over your cutting without actually having to learn any technical data. You can just literally grab a part and flip it over. So every one of the sheets here is laid out for you, and the last thing you do is you hit NC code, and this button generates the code and sends it all out to the machines. I don't happen to have a machine hooked up here, but all you would do is click this NC code button, make sure that everything was going to the right place, which again, CabinetVision will integrate your machines and set all this up for you, and you just hit run, and that's it. It'll generate every single bit of code you need to cut all your parts, including your dowel machines. It'll generate your labels, your barcodes on those labels to scan your to the dowel machine to orient your dowel placement for your parts. It truly is amazing how simple it is to cut parts once you've drawn them. And at this point you can generate paperwork which will contain your barcodes and so forth. You'll notice there's a reports tab up here, and that's for a room level report. However, this reports tab here is for the screen to machine center. So I can go to this screen to machine tab. You can see that it's generated a material summary which contains all of those sheets that you just saw, so that you can generate your layup list and have somebody with their forklift go over, grab all these materials, take them to the machine, and then you can cut this job. And here's what a label would look like. These little circles represent the edge banded edges. And these are the barcodes for generating the dowel locations for your dowel machine. Now these same barcodes would appear on the stickers, but if you didn't happen to have your label maker set up, you could generate the information you need here. And then you are all done. So you can see how rapidly you can take a job from design to cutting in less than an hour. I hope you've enjoyed this training video, and if you would like to purchase this commercial database or more training, please contact your local CabinetVision representative or myself directly at 603-988-1645. Thank you again.